Liam sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the ceiling. His mind wandered to the next day of school, filled with an overwhelming sense of dread. The move had been hard enough, leaving his old friends, the familiarity of his old town, and everything he knew behind. Starting fresh was supposed to be exciting, but instead, it felt like a never-ending nightmare. The school halls felt enormous and cold. Every day was the same, eyes glancing in his direction, whispers trailing behind him, and those boys, always those boys. They seemed to find joy in picking on him, for no reason at all. Maybe it was because he didn't play sports like them. Maybe it was because he kept to himself and didn't know anyone yet. Or maybe they just enjoyed making him feel small. It started off small. Little things, like snickers when Liam walked past, or exaggerated whispers about his clothes or his glasses. Liam had always worn glasses, and in his old school, no one cared. But here, it seemed like everything about him was different. He tried his best to blend in, to shrink into the background and avoid attention, but that only seemed to make things worse. The boys in his class had started to take his silence as a challenge. They began pushing him in the hallway, calling him names loudly enough for others to hear. "Four Eyes," they would chant, or "loser." It wasn't creative, but it was relentless. And each time, Liam's cheeks would burn with embarrassment. Sometimes he felt the prickle of tears behind his eyes, but he blinked them away quickly. He didn't want to give them the satisfaction. It was worse at lunch. Liam used to love lunchtime. At his old school, he and his friends would sit together, laughing and trading snacks. But here he sat alone, picking at his sandwich and hoping no one would notice him. The cafeteria was loud, but in the middle of it all, Liam felt isolated, like there was an invisible wall between him and everyone else. One afternoon, after yet another lunch spent alone, Liam was walking back to class when he heard them behind him. The footsteps, the snickering. He tensed up, knowing what was coming. He clutched the straps of his backpack tighter, hoping that this time they would just leave him alone. But they didn't. "Hey, freak!" one of the boys called out. His name was Ryan, the ringleader of the group. He was tall, with a loud voice and a smirk that made Liam's stomach churn. "Where do you think you're going?" Liam ignored him, keeping his eyes forward and trying to walk faster. But the boys caught up quickly. They always did. "What's the rush?" Ryan sneered, stepping in front of him. "We just want to hang out, right?" The other boys laughed, circling around Liam like vultures. One of them, Ethan, grabbed the strap of Liam's backpack and yanked it, causing him to stumble backward. "Oops," Ethan said, feigning innocence. "You dropped something." Liam's backpack hit the floor, and his books spilled out across the hallway. His sketchbook, which he had spent weeks drawing in, slid across the tile and landed at Ryan's feet. "Oh, what do we have here?" Ryan said, picking up the sketchbook and flipping through it. "Little Liam's a wannabe artist, huh?" Liam's heart raced as Ryan held the sketchbook up for the others to see. His drawings were personal, something he hadn't shared with anyone at this new school. It was his escape from the bullying, from the loneliness. But now it was being used as ammunition against him. "These are so lame," Ryan laughed, tearing out one of the pages and crumpling it in his hand. "Seriously, dude, you should stick to math or something." Liam felt a lump forming in his throat. He wanted to grab his sketchbook and run, but his legs felt frozen. He stood there helpless, as Ryan and the other boys laughed and tossed his drawings back and forth like they were worthless scraps of paper. The bell rang, signaling the end of lunch, but Liam didn't move. He stayed on the floor, picking up the torn pages of his sketchbook as the other students walked by. No one stopped to help. No one even looked at him. He felt invisible. That night, Liam sat in his room, staring at the torn pages spread out on his desk. His hands shook as he tried to tape them back together. But the damage was done. He felt like his drawings ripped apart and crumbled up. Maybe Ryan was right. Maybe he wasn't good at anything. Maybe he deserved to be treated like this. He thought about telling his parents, but he didn't want to worry them. They were already stressed about the move, and he didn't want to add to their problems. Besides, what could they do? They couldn't come to school with him and stop the bullies. He was on his own. The next morning, Liam walked into school with his head down, trying to avoid any attention. He was halfway through the day when something unexpected happened. During art class, as the teacher handed out the day's assignment, a boy named Noah slid into the seat next to Liam. Noah wasn't particularly popular or well-known, but he had a reputation for being kind. He didn't belong to any specific group, and he often floated between different crowds. Liam had noticed him a few times, but they had never really spoken. "Hey," Noah said casually, setting his art supplies on the table. "Mind if I sit here?" Liam shrugged. "Sure, I guess." They worked in silence for a while, each focusing on their own drawings. But as the class went on, Noah glanced over at Liam's sketchbook. "Your drawings are really good," Noah said, nodding toward the sketchbook. "I mean, way better than anything I can do." Liam blinked, surprised. "Really?" "Yeah, man," Noah said with a grin. "You've got talent." Liam felt a small flicker of pride. It was the first time anyone at this new school had complimented him. For a moment, he forgot about Ryan and the others. He forgot about the bullying. He just felt seen. "Thanks," Liam mumbled, not used to receiving praise. "No problem," Noah said, still smiling. "You should join the art club. They meet after school, and they're always looking for more people." Liam hesitated. The idea of joining a club sounded terrifying. What if Ryan found out? What if the bullying got worse? But at the same time, the thought of spending time with other kids who liked art was tempting. "I'll think about it," Liam said finally. Over the next few days, Noah kept sitting next to Liam in class. They didn't talk much, but it was nice to have someone there who wasn't teasing him or making him feel small. Noah's presence made school a little more bearable, and slowly, Liam began to relax. But the bullies didn't stop. They never stopped. One afternoon during lunch, Ryan and his group spotted Liam sitting by himself as usual. They sauntered over, smirking as they approached. "Look who it is," Ryan said, leaning over the table. Little Liam, all alone again. Liam's stomach clenched. He kept his eyes on his food, hoping they would get bored and leave. But they didn't. They never did. "What's wrong?" "Too cool to hang out with us," Ryan taunted, grabbing Liam's apple from his tray and taking a bite. "You think you're better than us now." Liam shook his head, his heart pounding in his chest. He didn't know what to say. No matter what he did, it was always the wrong move. Ryan tossed the apple back onto the tray, still smirking. "You're such a loser, man. No wonder no one wants to sit with you." Just as Ryan was about to say something else, a voice cut through the air. "Leave him alone, Ryan." Liam looked up in surprise to see Noah standing at the edge of the table, his arms crossed over his chest. He wasn't smiling anymore. His expression was serious, and for the first time, Ryan seemed caught off guard. "What do you care?" Ryan sneered, though his tone lacked its usual confidence. "I care because you're being a jerk," Noah said calmly. "There's no reason to treat him like this. Just leave him alone." Ryan narrowed his eyes, but he didn't respond. Instead, he turned to his friends, muttering something under his breath, before they all walked away. Liam watched in disbelief as they disappeared into the crowd. He had never seen anyone stand up to Ryan before, especially not for him. "Are you okay?" Noah asked, sitting down across from Liam. Liam nodded, still trying to process what had just happened. "Yeah, I think so. Thanks." "No problem," Noah said, as if standing up to bullies was the most natural thing in the world. "Those guys are just full of themselves. Don't let them get to you." For the first time in weeks, Liam felt a sense of relief. He wasn't alone anymore. Noah had his back, and that made all the difference. Over the next few weeks, things started to change. Noah continued to sit with Liam during lunch and gradually more students joined them. Some were from the art club, others were just kids who were tired of